Movie stars don't get any bigger than Godzilla. While King Kong was one of the original giant movie monsters, the Big G is the granddaddy of the Kaiju genre, a subgenre of tokusatsu entertainment which also includes classics like Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. Godzilla has managed to endure with massive success since his debut in the 1954 classic Gojira. He's been a spokesperson, spokesmonster for big products like Dr. Pepper, Snickers, and even Nike, where he played a game of basketball with a kaiju-sized Charles Barkley. Honestly, the only thing better than Charles Barkley would probably be the time he threw down with Dave Chappelle.
I'm from the streets, bitch!
Since 1954, Godzilla has gone through many incarnations. He's been portrayed as a destructive force of nature, an enemy to mankind, and most famously as a defender of the planet from other giant monsters. He is the star of Legendary's MonsterVerse film series, and even the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion, Hideaki Anno, took a stab at the franchise with Shin Godzilla. And then, there is Godzilla King of the Monsters, where he throws down with Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Basically, Godzilla is good at two things: destroying cities and fighting monsters. And that's where this list comes in. I'm going to count down my top 10 favorite Godzilla monsters. First rule is that Godzilla will not be on this list, because if he was, he would most definitely be number 1. This list is more about his most famous enemies and allies. One thing to note is that this is my list, so yours might differ. So make sure to sound off in the comments section and let me know who your favorite Godzilla monsters are. So let's get this kaiju-sized countdown underway. These are my top 10 favorite Godzilla monsters. Hedera, more commonly known as the Smog Monster, is a big piece of shit. No kidding, he's basically a giant sentient piece of space dookie, and he also happens to be one of Godzilla's most unique foes. Hedera made his first appearance in the 1971 film Godzilla vs. Hedera. Hedera is a pollution kaiju made of toxic sludge. His entire body is a weapon, but he can also assume multiple forms, one of which can fly and has the ability to spread a sulfuric acid mist. He can also fire a red laser beam from his eye, which will set anything ablaze. His battle with Godzilla is undoubtedly the grossest battle the Big G has ever endured, and that makes this alien slime beast all the more memorable. King Ghidorah may be Godzilla's arch-enemy, but one other devilish monster has come close to his legendary status, and his name is
Destoroyah!
Yeah, I just had to include that Cinemassacre classic. Destoroyah is a massive crustacean kaiju, mutated by the very weapon that was made to kill the original Godzilla, the Oxygen Destroyer. This essentially makes him the anti-Godzilla. Destoroyah made his first and only appearance in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Destoroyah is actually a composite of many different monsters, beginning as a small trilobite before transforming into a human-sized crab monster, which has more than a passing resemblance to the xenomorphs from the Alien franchise. Eventually, they all combine into a massive flying version of itself before finally reaching its final form. Destoroyah is considered to be Godzilla's strongest foe, being able to take him out at his peak power, known as Burning Godzilla. He can fire a devastating oxygen beam, and he even has a horn which can extend out like a giant laser katana. And to top it all off, he's just pure evil. He made one appearance, but he left a massive impression on the Godzilla fanbase. Gigan is the Swiss Army knife of kaiju. He can fly, fire lasers from his eyes, he has hooked hands which can also be upgraded into massive chainsaws, and most distinguished of all is the giant buzzsaw which is built into his abdomen. Gigan is an alien cyborg who loves to tag team battle with other monsters. He's weird as shit, but that's why I love him. BioLanty might not be the most iconic Godzilla enemy, but to me, it's one of the most fascinating. BioLanty is a genetically modified plant kaiju, which is a combination of Godzilla's cells, a rose, and believe it or not, the DNA of a dead woman. BioLanty has two forms, the first one being that of a giant rose, and its final form, which is absolutely massive. BioLanty is surprisingly fast and has a number of crazy attacks, such as a corrosive sap, which it can spew out like a projectile. It also has the ability to regenerate, and it has multiple tendrils with Venus flytrap-like mouths at the ends. Really what makes BioLanty interesting is the movie it comes from, the 1989 film Godzilla vs. BioLanty. As far as Godzilla films go, it's pretty unique and surprisingly thought-provoking for a movie about giant rubber-suited monsters. Take my word for it and check it out yourself. King Kong needs little introduction. One of the first big Hollywood movie monsters and a pop culture icon of the highest order. King Kong has been around even longer than Godzilla, and it was inevitable that they would eventually cross paths. While the original King Kong from 1933 would not stand a chance against Godzilla, he got beefed up for his appearance in the 1962 film King Kong vs. Godzilla. Here, he was bigger, faster,
And stronger too.
he could even harness the power of electricity and lightning. King Kong has been rebooted a number of times, but he made his grand debut in the MonsterVerse series, starting with Kong Skull Island. And the long-awaited rematch is going down in 2020's Godzilla vs. Kong. The King of Skull Island versus the King of the Monsters. What's not to love?
King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Godzilla has a number of enemies and a number of allies, and easily the most consistent has been the giant divine moth kaiju, Mothra. As low as she is on the list, I don't have much of an opinion on Mothra, but whenever I think of Godzilla, I always think of Mothra. She debuted in her own movie Mothra in 1961 and battled Godzilla for the first time in the 1964 movie Godzilla vs. Mothra. Unlike most kaiju, Mothra is a good monster and is always seen as a protector of Earth and an enemy of those who wish to upset the balance of nature. Her relationship with Godzilla has been a mixed one. Sometimes she's an ally, and other times she's trying to stop Godzilla's rampage. One thing I love about Mothra is how beautiful she is. She comes across as more regal and elegant than the other kaiju, and despite being what is otherwise an oversized butterfly, she can hold her own in battle. She has had a number of interpretations over the years and even starred in her own film trilogy in the 1990s. She's cute, she's fuzzy, and she even has her own theme song. As long as Godzilla exists, there will always be a Mothra. If Godzilla had a best friend, without a shadow of a doubt, it would be the Ankylosaurus kaiju, Garris. This is ironic as Garris was Godzilla's very first foe in the 1956 movie Godzilla Raids Again. After that, however, the spiky-shelled monster became the Luigi to Godzilla's Mario. Unlike a lot of other kaiju, Garris lacks any energy or beam-based attacks, and instead relies on his strength and spiky shell in battle. In Godzilla Final Wars, he also had the ability to roll up like an armadillo. Garris is also the ultimate underdog monster, getting his spiky ass handed to him in nearly every appearance he's made. But that just makes me love the scrappy monster even more. I hope in the future he can return again, especially in the new MonsterVerse series. Mothra might be able to fly, but the master of the skies is the Pteranodon kaiju, Rodan. Debuting in the 1956 movie Rodan, Rodan went on to become one of Godzilla's most trusted allies, and sometimes rival. This may come across as a surprise, but Rodan was the first kaiju movie I ever saw when I was a kid, and even today I have a lot of nostalgia for the original. To me, Rodan is simply just cool. A giant dinosaur kaiju who flies at supersonic speeds that destroys entire cities in the blink of an eye. He even has the ability to give his life force to Godzilla by literally melting into his body. If that sounds weird, that's only because it is. When it comes to allies, Rodan is a monster you want on your side. The only thing that can stop Godzilla is another Godzilla, and that's why my number 2 choice is Mechagodzilla. Fun fact, the very first Godzilla movie I ever saw was Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. It was a great introduction to the franchise, and I still consider it one of the best of the original series. There have been many versions of Mechagodzilla, but the original is still my favorite. Mechagodzilla is exactly what he sounds like, a giant robot version of Godzilla who is decked out from head to toe in all manner of weapons. He can fly, his head can rotate, creating a destructive force field, he has missiles on all his hands and toes, he can fire an electrical beam from his neck, he can shoot a rainbow-colored beam from his mouth. All of these abilities allow him to go claw to claw with Godzilla, and it gives him the ability to fight multiple kaiju at once. Simply put, Godzilla is already awesome, but a robot version is just icing on the cake. Batman has the Joker, Mario has Bowser, and Godzilla has King Ghidorah. Every hero needs a villain, and King Ghidorah is Godzilla's greatest rival and enemy. The three-headed dragon has been a thorn in Godzilla's ass since his debut in Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster. Ghidorah is the scourge of the universe, a three-headed dragon with an appetite for destruction that can't be quenched. For such a grand and glorious monster, he doesn't have that many abilities. I mean, he is highly durable, he can fly, and he can even create hurricane winds. But his most distinguished attack is the gravity beam. These beams are just as strong as Godzilla's atomic breath, and they can create large-scale explosions which make short work of cities. My favorite version of the character came from the 1991 movie Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Here he was created through time travel as a replacement for Godzilla. He was even given an upgrade to become the cyborg version of himself, Mecha King Ghidorah. There's just something cool about a giant golden three-headed dragon, and that's the reason he's my #1 favorite Godzilla monster. And that, my friends, was my top 10 favorite Godzilla monsters. Remember to tell me what your favorite ones are in the comment section below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos. And, of course, if you are subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that bell notification icon. It'll let you know when all of my videos are released. I also want to go ahead and give a big shout out to everybody who's been supporting this channel through our PayPal and Patreon accounts. You guys are super classy people. I appreciate all of the support. Remember, if you guys go to our Patreon page and donate more than $10, I will review an anime series of your choice. So thank you all again for watching. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.